Hello, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for August 17th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 230. I am Mayor Watt, and next to me, and the voice you hear, is the Sentient AI from the future.
Welcome, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News.
Today we're going to be talking about, we're starting out with a banger, whooping cough. Nightmare Before Christmas Light Trail, the Altar Stone of Stonehenge, a big problem for small games, Flutter Fire, sign me up, California to Arizona for estates, why do plants wiggle, 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 chicken product recall, Niger Delta biohazards, they're radioactively hot, and pictures of your cat for science, and boy, did I have to change what I was going to write for the title. Let's make sure that the Sentient AI from the future is not muted this time for the first 18 minutes of the show, like yesterday. Boy, oh boy.
I mean, it would be good if, if I wasn't muted.
Oh, wait. Sorry about that. No, just kidding. Now you're muted.
Wait a second here.
Just kidding. All right. You want to get into this?
Let's do it.
Oh, so we've got 3 shows today. Right after this one is going to be Reality Hacker, which is about AR, VR, deepfakes, AI, things like that. And then we're going to do Wanted, and then, which is all about gadgets and gear. And then after that is the Continuity Report. And then we'll reevaluate for tomorrow's shows. Although we're going to do Non Sequitur News for sure. Anyway, the first article for today is in the Non Sequitur News channel over at ohmTown.com. Oh. Before we go too far, if you hit !NSN in the chat, it will pull up all of the show notes for the VOD over on Twitch, but not on the YouTubes, because the bot is not connected to YouTubes just yet. I still have to do it. I'm just lazy, I guess. I don't know. But the joy of that is that you get all of the actually hard-coded URLs in the show notes after the show. So, yeah, we'll do that. Anyway, whooping cough cases 3 times higher than last year and return to pre-pandemic levels. So whooping cough infections are returning to pre-pandemic levels with more than 10,800 cases recorded so far this year, more than 3 times as many as last year. And you know why that is? It's because kids are bringing it all around to everybody.
Well, and everybody was kind of sequestered away from everybody.
Yeah, stay the hell away from me. I mean, anyway, Mary Katos and Yuri Benajod is the authors of are the authors of this article over at abcnews.go.com. It's a pretty virus. Right? Is it a bacteria or is it a virus?
I'm not sure.
What do they call it? What is it?
Let me see if I can find.
It's gotta be a virus. It's gotta be a virus. They just call it a... Whooping cough is a very contagious respiratory illness caused by a type of bacteria called Bordetella pertussis. It's a type of cheese, apparently. No, Bordetella. No?
Well, it kind of sounds like a cheese. Yeah. No.
Bordetella pertussis. So, Dr. Lori Handy, an attending physician at the Division of Infectious Diseases at Children's Hospital in Philadelphia, said the uptick... Did I pronounce that wrong? Wouldn't a doctor want to be at a place called Philadelphia?
Absolutely.
Where a lot of pharmaceuticals are handed out?
Yeah, actually, a pharmaceutical company would like that even better.
There's another NaNoWriMo story for you, a foundational thing. Basically, everything is named after some type of pharmaceutical, the city. So, like Philadelphia, right? And instead of Los Angeles, it's lozenges.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah. And the whole world is called General Hospital. Yes, I know that there's a show called You know what? It's just a couple of words. Nobody's going to trademark that after you, come after you, or copyright after you. No, it's fine. It's fine. DMCA, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Anyway, honestly, I think it was a little surprising that it took this long, recognizing that we lifted many of the measures close to 2 years ago, she said to ABC News. Quote, I think many folks remember the increase in RSV cases that we saw back in 2022, so this lagged behind some other respiratory infections, but definitely now has resurfaced and looks very typical to 2019. Yeah. Except people haven't had 4 years worth of resistances building up, and so this might come out of left field and kind of wreck the buffet, so to speak.
Yeah, this may not be good. I think it's particularly a problem for vulnerable populations like young and elderly and immunocompromised. I don't know how much of an issue it is for people that are adult and healthy.
Yeah, I think that they probably just kind of, kill it off anyway. It says these bacteria attach to the cilia, the tiny hair-like structures found on the surface of some cells of the upper respiratory system that help clear mucus and other debris. I know it's debris. Don't send me an email. In the airway and release toxins, and the toxins damage the cilia and cause upper airways to swell, according to the CDC. So you get a cough, and it's constant, apparently. And yeah, I completely forgot that it's a bacteria. I just didn't remember it. So,
well, it's been a long time since it's been in the news.
It's been a long time. Been a long. So early symptoms often resemble a common cold, runny nose, cough, and low-grade fever, and typically last for 1 to 2 weeks. Symptoms, however, can progress to rapid, violent coughing fits that can last up to 12 weeks. Coughing fit?
That's a long coughing fit. Hopefully there's some breaks in there.
If it wasn't for the fact that you are a sentient AI from the future, I would be calling you something else right now. You what, son of a source code? Is that what I could probably say that? You son of a source code. Anyway, it can be treated with antibiotics, and receiving treatment early can reduce the severity of the infection. Most whooping cough, whooping cough symptoms can be managed at home, according to the CDC. Although anyone can contract pertussis, infants under age 1, pregnant women, and immunocompromised people are at highest risk for severe illness. Yeah, it's been around. There's been a vaccine for whooping cough introduced in the 1940s, and the number of cases each year has since dropped dramatically, decreasing more than 90% compared to the pre-vaccine era. But, there's more for this article, but we're going to move on. Executive decision. I'd like to break these up again. I'd love to be able to just break these up automatically, but there's no easy way to just snap all of these into their individual segments. And I don't like editing. I like everything being transparent. So anyway, Nightmare Before... the next article is over in the Continuity Report, which is one of our shows. It's later on today. Nightmare Before Christmas Light Trail to make debut at New York Botanical Garden. Film news in
That sounds
brief.
Cool.
That's the segment, I guess, that this is aggregated from. It's over at Variety, but the New York Botanical Garden is set to debut the Nightmare Before Christmas themed light trail inspired by Tim Burton's 1993 film on September 27th. The experience will run through November 30th with operating hours from dusk until 10 p.m. The trail features over 8,300 square feet of light installations created by technology, including ... You know what that means? You have to visit the source. That'll take you over to Variety. The article is by Jazz Tanky, I think. Diego Ramos, Bacara, Jack Dunn, and Selena Kuznikov. There we go. That's pretty cool. They gotta look at them.
I mean, if this is like what it's going to be like, that's going to be pretty neat.
That looks pretty cool. So the trail has 8,300 square feet of light installations created by technology, including Interactive. Go back and edit.
It is interactive, so you can do some spelling corrections as you go.
Yeah, Interactive. Video projection, intelligent LED, which, what does that mean? Intelligent LED lighting. And you know what? I guess all of this behind me and around me is unintelligent LED lighting and 3D printed sculptures of film's characters. So the trail is created by Adventure Live and Let's Go and presented by a special arrangement with Buena Vista Theatrical. Hey, pretty cool. Is that a different article? Yeah, that's a different article.
Yeah, Variety, I think, tends to have those just follow-ons.
Scroll. There's more over at this article, including a link. So if you want to show Variety some, I don't know, attention, go over there, click their links. All right, moving on. Next article's over in the Model Channel. The altar stone from Stonehenge came from an unexpectedly distant place, according to a new study. I know something about this that I don't know if it's going to be in the article, but let's read it all together. Not the whole thing. And I won't quote the whole thing. Okay, I'm just going to talk a little bit about it. You know that those people that like sprayed whatever it was on it, it actually,
yes,
they can't get all of that off, apparently. So during the solstices, solstice? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. It's canon now in ohmTown. Thousands gather at Stonehenge on the Salisbury Plain in England as opposed to in Ohio, to celebrate the monument's astronomical alignment. The focal point of these festivities is the altar stone, the 6-ton sandstone slab that lies flat at the center of Stonehenge. And it's not just flat; it's actually on this, like it's subterranean. Only the top of it is sitting. The very the very top edge is sitting proud of the center, and there's 2 stones sitting on top of it that seemingly have fallen over. But there was some. I mean, there is an altar stone in the middle that is just barely proud of the surface. So hopefully they show that. No, they don't. So Anthony Clark, Chris Kirkland, and I think Stin Glory from The Conversation put this article together. Now, I don't believe that is the altar stone or that right there. There's one underneath them.
Okay. I kind of wish there was a top-down photo of this.
There might be later on in the article. No, there's not. Anyway, sorry for the massive scroll, but I had to do it. So it says it lies flat at the center of Stonehenge, the ancient society that built this monument from 3100 to 1600 BCE left no written record, but Stonehenge's building blocks themselves can help us understand it better. And these blocks, or megaliths, are divided into 2 major categories: sarsen stones and blue stones. The altar stone is the largest blue stone. Some blue stones were likely quarried from the, Myned Preseli in Wales, over 220 kilometers away from Stonehenge. And they carried them somehow, dragged them. Massive stones. I don't know if they talk about the weight of these stones, but yeah, they're megalithic. So where is the altar stone from? How was it transported to southern England? And to answer this, they analyzed the altar stone's constituent mineral grains. I don't know who the we is in this. I don't know if it's these people, but
I think so. That looks like that's the researchers. Well,
yeah.
we'll find out at the end. There'll probably be a research citation.
Okay, because I didn't pay attention to the person, but as the story goes, because I actually saw this, I watched this, the person who discovered that the origin of the altar stone was not where people thought it came from, has a picture of him as a child, like 4 years old or something like that, sitting on his dad's shoulders being introduced to Stonehenge.
Okay, that's interesting.
And became so fascinated with it that now he's a researcher that discovered.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, and it might be, they make the claim that it might be upsetting to find out where it's actually sourced from. So the altar stone remained enigmatic. Recent work has raised doubts about the long-held belief that it too came from Wales. It does not. It came from Scotland. So the idea behind this is that it is now expanding the reach of Stonehenge, and that it wasn't just a local community affair, but a broad spectrum of people with the same ideal.
Right. I mean, this is more of an effort the farther you get away from Stonehenge.
Yep. So
particularly as it was in modern times.
Yeah, in their study, they dated mineral grains called zircon, rutile, and apatite in the altar stone. As no sampling of the altar stone is permitted today, they used thin slices of the stone collected during historical archaeological digs. Like a DNA test can tell us about our ancestors, grains from the altar stone have specific ages and chemical characteristics that allow us to pinpoint where rock is sourced from. They do this with metals. They do this with diamonds. They do this with precious anything of value, really, historical or otherwise, and not. There is some research that's being done even on plant DNA so that you can actually keep the historical record of plants. So provenance is maintained. So if you have a plant that is this, you could be the only one that has that plant because you're the only one that has made that genetic strain. That actually translates into business, by the way, because you can get patents, biology patents. So like corn and stuff like that is genetically GMO'd corn. If you don't license the GMO'd corn and you plant it in your farm, they can raise your farm, the patent holders.
Right. Well, this is interesting, too, because based on where Stonehenge is located, Wales is much closer. But then also this region of Scotland looks like it would be about the farthest you could get from Stonehenge without leaving the broader island.
The
it's interesting.
Basin.
I didn't pinpoint the basin, but just northeast Scotland in general.
Right. Yeah, so that provided the closest match to the sedimentary rocks of the altar stone. So the Scottish heart of Stonehenge. Today, that's the section that they titled this. So today, northeast Scotland and Orkney Islands are sparsely populated, but this was different in the past. Archaeological sites as Skara Brae, Maeshowe, I think it's pronounced that way, but don't hold me to that, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. And the Ring of Brodgar, the Ring of Brodgar, atop a ritual landscape on Orkney suggests that northeast Scotland was a center of Neolithic population, culture, and trade.
Wait a second. If this was actually from the Orkney Islands specifically, that's a whole other puzzler.
Yeah. How did you get that damn thing across?
Right, because I was thinking mainland Scotland in that region. But anyway, I don't know that we say exactly in this article.
Yep. So a quarried stone tools trade network is found throughout Britain, Ireland, and continental Europe. For example, a saddle corn. A large prehistoric stone grinding tool was discovered in Dorset and determined to be from Normandy, France. So They went from place to place.
Same idea, right? I mean, it had to be via ship.
Yep. So I find it really fascinating. It says, but Neolithic Britons were adept seafarers. They had to be, as prehistoric Britain was heavily forested and formidable mountains, valleys, and estuaries would have posed major barriers for southward cargo haulage. So given these obstacles, overland transport would have proved all but impossible to move the altar stone from Scotland to Salisbury Plain. They think that it's likely the builders of Stonehenge shipped the altar stone by boat. But they don't list how much this cost. Could a boat have or how much it weighed.
One of that weight?
Yeah.
Maybe.
So I want to find out how much that weighs.
Oh, it's 6 tons. It says right here.
Where? In here?
Yeah, near the bottom of the screen. Right there.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. The unanswerable question is, why did people pick that altar stone? Why transport a drab greenish-gray 6-ton sandstone block over 650 kilometers from Scotland? So it's over 6 tons. Yeah. Calculate how many people would be needed to move that thing from where it's sourced onto a ship.
Right, possibly across water, right?
And then drag it ashore from where? Onto shore,
and then
right?
Hundreds of miles, it appears, because when they would get to shore,
yep,
like it's nowhere near Stonehenge unless they would traverse around what's current day UK.
Yeah, and so I'm looking at a map. It is in between Portsmouth and Bristol. Okay. Right in the middle, Stonehenge. If you were to draw a line between Bristol and Portsmouth,
it's not even near the water.
Correct.
And the Orkney Islands are at the very top of Scotland.
Correct. So how the hell? Which beach?
That's why I was really puzzled. I mean, when it said Scotland, I was puzzled, but then when I started looking at the map, I was more puzzled.
Which beach did they land on and then drag a 6-ton sandstone block from to there? I love this. You know what I say? Aliens. Moving on. Can't argue with me. We've moved on. So the next article is over in Reality Hacker. Steam has one big problem with its smallest games, and like everything, it's discoverability, I'm sure. With so many games releasing every day across all storefronts, discoverability has become such an issue that even great games are slipping through the cracks. But that's what happens. Okay, competition causes the greatest ones or the most enabled ones to reach the forefront. You know, I think this show is absolutely spectacular. Yeah. I think that the show is absolutely terrific, but without viewers going out and ramping up the show, saying how great it is, then the show doesn't necessarily grow. I just watched a video of another YouTuber that is basically calling it partially quits. They've got to make ends meet. I think that they're massive compared to me, and well, the Sentient AI as well, and they're backing off. So really, it's all about discoverability. So how do you get discovered? Well, you become a dumpster fire, right? Or you idle.
Right, because the most popular or most downloaded or whatever seems to be always the stuff that's featured or prominent, and so it just perpetuates it.
Right. And if you do something spectacular and you're able to maintain it, then that's one thing. But for instance, this Haktua girl that came out of nowhere, right? The absolutely absurdity of it, but then tried to leverage it. Now, I don't know whatever happened to this person, but they were like,
"Oh, I do."
Some people flamed
the news in the last 24 hours.
Oh, really? Some people flame out, other people leverage it and win, but not everybody does. But that's all about discoverability. And for whatever reason, people really love a dumpster fire. So small games without much vocal support from the community they're going to idle or they're going to just slow grow. So do like No Man's Sky and say spectacular things, completely wet the bed, and then grind away for 10 years to make up for the mistake of basically pitching something that you couldn't actually hit. Anyway, so are you able to say where that person ended up?
I'll just say they were selected to throw out a pitch at a baseball game, and the fans were beyond mad at that because, number one, there was some sort of kids focus on that particular game, and they're kind of like, what are you doing here?
This is the worst person to have.
Yeah. And plus, there was a charity organization that was being supported that was not related to kids, but it just...
Well, you read the room.
People didn't appreciate the association with, I think, any of it.
So the flip side of that is that she made a video basically saying some people would leverage their fame for doing selfish things, but she went to a pet store, bought a bunch of stuff for pets, and donated it to a shelter. So
right.
why not
I
pivot
think
that?
There's something to using your fame for good, but anyway, I don't think people are real appreciative of why she was there. Yes.
Yeah, why not get, a firefighter to throw the first pitch out? They do more good for society in a general day than, a flame out of...
Family friendly.
Exactly. I'll be family friendly. Anyway, so this article is over in Digital Trends. Steam has one big problem with its smallest games. Jesse Lennox is the author of the article. And they basically make that point that it's about discoverability. Perhaps the greatest advancement in game development in recent years is the ease of access for the average person to start making a game. This has lowered the barrier of entry, where creators of almost any skill level can get their games on a major platform. However, the platforms themselves have not adapted. No, that's not true. It's up to society to reach into that platform and facilitate what society deems is worthy. And in many places, like on Steam, adding something to your wish list, that moves the person up the rankings. Liking and subscribing. So liking, leaving a comment, and allowing us to send you alerts when we go live or post a video, that's what moves our needle. On Twitch, following us leads to becoming an affiliate, then a partner, and then other long-term options. But there's always something that's there. Somebody might have a different opinion about what it is, but right now, that is what it is. And then the developers of these platforms evolve, and they will. So it's reached the point where the most prominent digital storefronts, PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, are so saturated with new games on a daily basis that even great games can be buried and lost forever. But great games is a subjective term.
Yeah, but I think the point is something that everybody might like to play, but nobody even knows about it to play it to begin with. And so then it just gets no traction, etc. I mean, it's the same problem you're describing with streaming and other arenas.
Yeah, I think this is a great show and we have 6 other great podcasts on top of this, the daily one. But it's up to viewers to sit there and promote it. So if there's something that I need to do for you to promote it, then let me know. So excluding AAA games with massive PR and marketing budgets, every other game looking to get a shred of attention at launch is playing a rigged game of roulette with its success. We've hit a critical mass with the number of games coming out where the cream no longer rises to the top based on quality alone. That is not true. Quality is subjective. If enough people say that this game is the shiznit, it will be. It rises to the top.
True, but they have to find it to begin with.
Again, we go back to word of mouth. It's the hype train.
It is, but platforms, I think, could work on discoverability as well.
But how much bandwidth does a person have to scale discoverability. I think that the live stream on Twitch is probably, for me, not Twitch, on YouTube is probably the worst discoverability platform. But it's all because, again, there's something about having one person that is very engaged, very committed, out there pumping the show up. It isn't the person that starts the movement, it's the first follower, right? So how to start a movement is an old TED talk that I talk about with people. What somebody needs is somebody that's connected to say, and with another platform, right? So, and I'm only using this because they're actually a firebrand right now, which Mr. Beast is in deep trouble with a whole, segment of society, and others are as well, but they actually have a platform, and all they have to do is point at somebody and boom.
And then there's suddenly explosive growth because it got out to a lot of people, and plus there's that endorsement factor.
Yep, and that's the discoverability. But platforms alone, it isn't incumbent on the platform alone to promote everybody equally, because it's impossible. There is
and then we're back to the Steam problem discussed in this article too, because there's so many games. I mean,
yeah,
you don't want there to be a lot of barriers to entry, but if there are no barriers to entry, then everybody's competing against each other.
And that's it. They have to, like, there is a person, Co Carnage here on Twitch, over on Twitch, because I stream to both YouTube and Twitch. Co Carnage says, if you're streaming to nobody, then you need to do something offline and promote your show somehow. And well, to that I say, well, you started as the Grand High Poobah of a guild. He was the guild master of a huge guild, and everybody followed him because he was an early adopter of the platform. So not all things have the same context. When all you need is to just turn on a camera and start talking, yeah, there is zero friction for streaming. There's more friction for making a game. Putting it on a platform means that you now have to start spending money on marketing, time on marketing, do some guerrilla marketing, get contacts offline, not on Steam, network with people and show them the game. Give the game to people and get it distributed so that people try it out. Streamers, YouTubers, get the game out. Discoverability is on you because the platform is nothing more than a vehicle to get it out to the people, not to promote it, not until it actually becomes something of value that they can put on their front page. And that's where the wish list comes in. You'll end up on the front page if you are a massive mover on the wish list. You'll end up on the front page if you go live with it and people start paying $20 for it, $30, $40, $50, $60, $70. That's how it works. That's the discoverability alone. There is nothing else that Steam or any other platform can do because there's only a finite amount of time to promote. Because if you promote everybody, it's just a giant shade of gray. Nobody really sees it. It's the Ouroboros, the snake eating
itself. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, I get what they're going after. It says it's the primary means of exposure to the masses who don't follow major gaming news cutoff. This re-release of an established critical commercial hit has sold like dog poo, according to the creator Jonathan Blow. They're referring to Braid. This actually became a discussion in some podcasts that I listened to. But again, it isn't up to Steam. Blow did remark that Steam was its biggest platform. Even then, the game's player count peaked at a mere 570. Well, maybe it's an old game, re-released. People aren't interested.
There was less competition when it first came out. There were only 242 releases on Steam that year when it
Right.
was first released. Now there's more than 10,000 and the year's not over.
Yeah. So now you got to up your game. It doesn't matter if it is quote unquote a good game, because good is subjective. All right. Well, there is a lot more in this article because they talk about other things. Platforms are mostly quiet about how discoverability works. The algorithm seems to change frequently. Peoples, which is Josiah Peoples. That's how they explain it. For instance, do I need 7,000 or 10,000 wish lists to be promoted on Steam? Both Gittins and Peoples have suggested indie developers seek outside resources to better understand how to play the system, citing How to Market Your Game by Chris Zukowski, and online resources like How to Market a Game. All right, but again, why should the platform say, hey, you need 7,000? No, you do your damnedest to get discovered across the entire platform, everywhere, not just hit this target number and you get promoted. Why? Because once somebody knows what the target is, that's all they have to aspire to. Particularly on Steam, where there's all this competition, and all it takes is somebody to spend a whole lot of money in marketing and they can get that 7,000 wish list. Then they're promoted. Oh, I did it. Put out a big loan or whatever. If they hit the 7,000 and they don't end up on Steam, then there's this liability issue. Well, I hit the 7,000. They told me all I had to do was hit 7,000. Right? I got more people than necessary on YouTube for me to be at a certain level. But there is a moving target of watched hours that, who knows, the accounting there I don't know anything about, right? So theoretically I'm hitting that, but apparently not. Am I frustrated by it? Well, I mean, I'm a small streamer, I'm a small YouTuber. Got to get word out. That's what it's all about. So they say at the very end of this, for every Balatro that manages to find a vocal audience to give it a strong signal boost, hundreds, I'd say thousands, are not so lucky. So there's no equal terms because the quality of every game is different. The users appreciate a certain thing, and it may not be everybody clamoring for Balatro.
Yeah, but the quality isn't what's causing visibility. It might be after multiple people are using it, but not initially. It's more money thrown at it, more name brand studios, other things.
I think it's more akin to there's only a finite amount of bandwidth. And for instance, that's why I created ohmTown, because information overload prevents me from obtaining the information I actually need or desire. So I've had to pick my battle and limit my bandwidth to 50 domains. There are things out there that aren't on my radar anymore because I don't have the capacity to be everywhere. And that's the same thing with games. I really only pay attention to survival crafting games. Casual games and VR games. All the rest, there's a bunch of card games, blah, blah, blah. I don't play games that are side scrollers or platformers or just countless others. 4X games, I don't play those. You pick your battle. All right, we need to keep moving. The next article, though, is over in Non Sequitur News. Americans are so desperate for cheaper houses that they're willing to live in flood and wildfire zones. Last year, more people moved into than out of the most fire and flood-prone area. It's hard to say flood-prone areas in the U.S. A surge in migration to the Sun Belt has helped exacerbate this trend. While transplants are attracted by cheaper real estate, they may face higher costs in the long term or not be able to get insurance.
Right, which could be kind of a problem if you're trying to purchase.
Yep.
Or
Eliza
refinance or anything.
Or anything, yeah. And it can happen after you purchase because the risk is too
Right.
high, so the insurance companies bow out. That's what happened in California and in Florida recently. Maybe other places, Arizona maybe. Eliza Relman put the article together over at businessinsider.com. And they have this flood waters inundate a neighborhood in Hallandale Beach, Florida. There was some community that is like up in arms because their community flooded and they want to know why. And I was kind of flabbergasted by that. I'm like, well, nature, and
I
you're in a
didn't see that
floodplain.
one. Yeah. But bigger climate change.
Climate change, hey, but don't just ignore that, you know.
But, make sure you're polluting into the environment and buying all kinds of plastic and everything.
Yeah,
and then grumbling
ignoring
about the floods.
And don't promote, green living in any way. Well, I live in Florida. Isn't that good enough? No. So U.S. counties have the highest risk of wildfire. Saw 63,365 more people move in than out in 2023, Redfin found. So people are moving into these high-risk wildfire zones.
I mean, that's interesting because I suspect when people see things on the news, they're like, I'm going anywhere but that state, but apparently not.
Apparently not.
Let me move there.
Counties with a high risk of flooding gained 16,144 new residents last year, driven largely by population increases in
Florida.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there could be other reasons why that's taking place, but this trend isn't new. In a 2021 report, Redfin found that the 50 countries most at risk for extreme heat saw their populations expand by almost 5% between 2016 and 2020, and that shift was accelerated by pandemic-era patterns of people fleeing big cities, as Business Insider reported last year. But that doesn't make any sense because we didn't have a pandemic until after the reporting area. Unless they're talking about all of 2020.
Yeah, like did the numbers completely expand? So then they should have said like 2019 to 2020 or something if the big shift was during that time.
Yeah, this I don't know what the context of this is, but the only thing that took place in 2020 was people being shocked by the shutdown. People weren't like, hey, I'm going to move. There's no way in hell people were deciding to move based on the pandemic.
There were a lot of people moving out of cities, particularly in the U.S. I don't know. I can't speak for other countries. There were mass migrations out of big cities
in 2019. I mean 2020.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look because
I'm thinking of one city in particular that was reported, like New York City, because that was one of the initial kind of, not New York City, but the state was kind of one of the epicenters in the U.S.
Right.
Of the original, not the original, but where the pandemic first arrived. It wasn't the first place, but it's where it was very prevalent.
And the people who were doing that decided to move when?
I mean, it was shutdown. Initially, so right. It was, I'd say 2020.
So within 1 year, people relocated, had the means during a pandemic shutdown, and was able to find locations. I'd be shocked if that's the true. I mean,
the news reported that. I don't know.
Yeah. So there has to be more to that. So the number of people who moved into the most flood and fire-prone counties in the U.S. more than doubled in 2021 and 2022, which I believe it would be legit because the numbers would be lower in those areas. The value of the properties would be lower so that they could afford moving from a high expense place to a low expense place. And it might be a lower population density because they saw the impact. 2021 and 2022 moves, yeah, I could buy into it being pandemic. But 2020, how did enough people scrounge up enough resources to relocate during a pandemic where there aren't people moving? Rates started increasing already. Yeah. So the lower cost of living in the short term, but higher risks long term. They talk about basically the cost, the surge of people who moved from more expensive coastal cities to lower cost locales, particularly in the Sunbelt, farther from large metros and closer to natural amenities. These locations are often more vulnerable to natural disasters. Yeah, there's a lot of context that's missing, I think. So, but migration into flood and fire-prone areas appears to be slowing somewhat. The number of people who moved to the most flood-prone counties in the United States has fallen significantly since 2022. I don't know. Why would anybody do that other than
Lower
ignorance of
cost.
the long-term costs?
I mean, it has to be cost related. Or, like you said, population density. People didn't want to be packed in with other people during the pandemic.
Right. Yeah, so it says most Americans don't want to move into riskier areas. The vast majority of house hunters, 57%, say living in an area where homes are at risk of a natural or climate disaster such as fire, flood, poor air quality is a must-have, so that they're at low risk.
Don't you think they're missing a demographic component to this?
Well, yeah. They actually jump into that right after you said that. The next paragraph is talking about...
I didn't realize that was coming.
Yeah. In many cities, lower income and predominantly black neighborhoods are in areas with less tree cover, higher temperatures, and a greater risk of flooding. Black residents of southeastern states are more likely to live in places impacted by excessive heat, flooding, and hurricanes, an analysis from McKinsey found in 2023. But I'm sure it has nothing to do with socioeconomic status or race, right?
I was actually thinking more generally income, because if you have enough resources, you're not going to put yourself knowingly at risk.
Right.
But if you don't have enough income, you're going to have to live where you can afford to live.
But historically, Black Americans have never fully recovered.
I mean, I was thinking about income when I made that statement.
Yeah.
Right. And there were real estate restrictions, etc., that all set in motion a lot of things that are still visible today.
And everything old is trying to be made new again, kind of scumbaggery. But so a Brookings Institution report last year recommended several ways that policymakers can encourage Americans to seek climate safety. But you know what? The only way that you can stop flooding is by building higher. The only way that you can stop fire is by making sure that wherever you build, things can't catch fire. And building code is set up so that it mitigates it. One of the biggest things that could have been done to mitigate fire in residential areas was to build rock surrounds around the perimeter of your house and pull bushes away from direct contact, like 3 feet away, mitigated your house catching on fire. And it was actually demonstrated in Hawaii and other places where buildings burned down, but the ones that have this rock perimeter did not. And obviously they talk about zoning and other land use and blah, blah, blah. But there are planners that sit there and go, well, we've built a floodplain so that it pulls all of the water away from the residential areas, but we need that land now. So let's start building there. And then they sell the houses, and in the documents is this little statement that says it's a floodplain, but not really the level of it. Like, this happens every 5 years. You're going to have 3 feet of water in your basement. They don't say that.
Right.
They say it happens every 100 years. But then in climate change, that removes the context of history. It's every 5 years. So, yeah. Let's keep moving. Next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Step inside the richest city in Arizona, where wealthy Californians are flocking to private mountainside estates. I love this. I'm just going to move right on over.
Juxtaposition.
Yep. Joey Haddon over at BusinessInsider.com put the article together. And Business Insider's reporter went to Paradise Valley, the wealthiest town in Arizona. It looks kind of, I don't know. Where are they getting all of the water from?
On the surface look like the wealthiest town.
It does not, does it? So they visited Paradise Valley in April and found sprawling mountainside estates with privacy and easy access to Phoenix. It's easy to see why billionaires want to live there. Because they really want to go to Phoenix?
Because it's really high temperatures?
Yeah, because it's just desert? All right. Well, shopping at high-end stores nearby or lounging poolside on their sprawling, secluded estates, they may spend their days in the desert paradise golfing at exclusive members-only clubs as well. Sometimes called the Beverly Hills of Arizona, the Phoenix suburb is the richest town in the state and has long drawn high-profile residents, and over the past decade, Paradise Valley has become even more popular for wealthy Californians who are swapping out the West Coast life for large lots and lower taxes in the Arizona wealth enclave, which, swapping out the West Coast life? Arizona isn't like an inner state. It is.
Well, it's not on the ocean.
Yeah, but it's not a fringe state, you know? They make it sound like it's South Dakota.
I mean, it is right next to California, but...
Right. Anyway, so there it is, Paradise Valley, ensconced in the wondrous state or
Phoenix greater metro area. I don't know.
Scottsdale.
Although it's actually right next to Scottsdale, which I thought was also a wealthy area.
Well, you can go to the Sonoran Preserve Desert Vista Trailhead or to Troon North Golf Club or hang out at Fort McDowell. So to me, it just looks like scrub brush, and the real problem here is that a golf course that shouldn't exist there is actually made manifest by siphoning water off from some other region and putting it here, forcing it into existence. But all of that would be burned off if left to nature. Since its inception, some resorts, schools, and restaurants have popped up around Paradise Valley, but single-family homes and estates still dominate the town. Of the 14,000 residents, 95% are homeowners, and the average local makes $220,000 a year. According to Realtor, the median listing price is $5 million, and the most expensive home on the market is $50 million. Stevie Nicks, Michael Phelps, Muhammad Ali live there. I guess if anybody actually shows up that isn't part of that tier, I guess there goes the neighborhood, right?
Well, it's probably noticed if a regular average income person appears.
Yeah, really. So, although it's a short drive to the city, Paradise Valley is not walkable. The lot sizes are huge. Paradise Valley's lot sizes typically range between 1 and 27 acres, according to Shackleton on a YouTube video. Some people are coming from big cities where they're used to having two-story houses and small yards, and here we have the ability to have single-level homes. If you go single-level or ranch, as most people call it, then that means a little bit more land and a higher price point. So the town is full of custom homes that are individually gated.
I mean, the one in the picture looks like a compound.
Yeah, there's that one there, and then that one right there. See, the thing is, I wouldn't want to be right there because you have an entire mountain that's abutting you, and rocks tend to fall.
Flooding and rock falls.
Yeah, primarily the rock falls. Whatever, you know.
Mudslides.
Ugh, mud flows. Let's move on. Next article is over in Technology Today. Why do plants wiggle? Scientists solve age-old mystery that puzzled Charles Darwin. When I read this, I thought I instantly knew it, so I'm going to take a stab at it because I haven't read the article. The reason why plants wiggle is because they're trying to optimize their angle of attack on the sun.
That's what I would suspect. I haven't read the article yet.
So, a study revealed that sunflowers' erratic movements helped them locate sunlight, providing insights into plant behavior and potential agricultural benefits. In a new study, physicists from the United States and Israel may have gotten to the bottom of a quirky behavior of growing plants, and a mystery that intrigued Charles Darwin himself during the later decades. How could this have been a puzzle this long?
Yeah, I don't know. It's also surprising that this was something that Darwin might have studied, because it doesn't really fit with some of his other work,
Observations, right?
location. Right, exactly.
The level of critical thinking required for this, I didn't think would idle this long for us to understand that it's centering on where the sun is. I mean, you see plants wake up every day doing that, right?
Right. Yeah, I feel like there's more to that.
So, University of Colorado at Boulder put the article together. It's posted at scitechdaily.com. So, in a new study, physicists from the United States and Israel have gotten to the bottom. For many humans, plants might seem stationary and even a little dull, but green things actually move a lot. If you watch a time-lapse video of a sunflower seedling poking up from the soil, for example, it doesn't just shoot straight up. Instead, as the sunflower grows, its crown spins in circles and twists into corkscrews, and in general wiggles around, albeit very slowly.
Yeah, like if you had a sped up time-lapse video, I bet it would look like it was.
Yep. So anybody who ever grows plants themselves knows that their plant will grow towards the light, and you have to turn your plant around so that it doesn't continuously grow in a particular angle. So, like, I grow microgreens. I haven't in a long time now. I really do need to kick that back into gear, but I can actually move the lighting around and I can watch the plants grow towards it. And when you do blackout, where your plants are basically, your seedlings are blocked off from the light, if any light creeps in from anywhere, like one little photon seeps through a crack, the shoots will angle towards that, which is quite
absolutely
interesting to watch. And then when you remove the blackout, they just shoot straight up because your light is directly above them, and then they grow big and strong and tall. And that's what these are doing. They're watching where the sun is, picking up as much response from those photons hitting the chlorophyll or whatever it is that because it's different, like, mechanisms that allow them to grab as much light as possible, but it's always the same process. But it says it doesn't just shoot straight up. Instead, as the sunflower grows, its crown spins in circles. Now researchers co-led by Orit Peleg, I guess, at CU Boulder, and Yasmin Moraz at Tel Aviv University have discovered one role for these chaotic movements. It also known as circumnutations. The little wiggles. So in greenhouse experiments,
I've not heard of that term.
Yeah. The group showed that sunflowers take advantage of circumnutations to search the environment around them for patches of sunlight. A lot of people don't really consider the motion of plants because as humans, we're usually looking at plants from the wrong frame rate. But this is new.
Well, remember, in older times, they might not have had the technology to do it, or maybe they did, I don't know. But I mean, today it would be very easy to look at it sped up, right?
This is just really interesting. In the 1860s, Darwin, who was then suffering from a range of ailments that limited his mobility, spent days observing plants at his home. He planted seeds from cucumbers and other species, then traced around their crown's movement from day to day. The resulting maps look wild and haphazard. Quote, "I'm getting very much amused by my tendrils. It is just the sort of niggling work that suits me," he wrote to a friend in 1863. Pardon me.
Well, he probably couldn't see the sun from where he was located. I mean, this definitely makes more sense than what it looked like initially.
Yeah, so they say it's a mystery that's also perplexed Meraz, a physicist by training. One 2017 study pointed her in the right direction. In it, scientists led by the University of Buenos Aires grew lines of sunflowers under cramped conditions. They discovered that the plants naturally and consistently arranged themselves into a zigzag pattern, almost like the teeth of a zipper. The arrangement likely helps the plants maximize their access to sunlight as a group. It's just fascinating that this wasn't documented sooner. That's why I chose this.
I agree.
Yeah.
Plus, it had a funny headline.
Oh, yeah. Why do plants wiggle, 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 wiggle? Let's move on. The next article is over at Non Sequitur News. Chicken product recall sparks nationwide warning. Over 167,000 pounds are being recalled on Friday amid potential metal contamination concerns. Anna Commander, which again is an awesome freaking name, posted this article over at newsweek.com. Purdue Foods, once again, rising. Unlike a bunch of small game developers rising to the top. News release posted on the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Food Safety and Inspection Service, or FSIS. Over 167,000 pounds of frozen ready-to-eat chicken breast, nugget, and tender products are being recalled due to a foreign material, specifically metal, potentially contaminating the meat. They posted photos of the labels of the impacted goods, which were produced on March 23rd. According to the agency, there have been no known reports of people experiencing adverse reactions related to the recall. That's really all there is.
Right. I mean, I think some of the takeaways is a major chicken producer. It's probably broadly distributed, so might want to look at what you bought.
Yep. It has an establishment number of P-33944, which is visible on the back of the packaging, according to the notes. The impacted products were available for customers to purchase online as well as distribute across the country to retailers. So check your sacks. Moving on. Next article is over on the Mobile Channel. Nigeria's Niger Delta biohazards, high radioactive levels detected. The Niger Delta in southern Nigeria is one of the most significant oil-producing regions in the world. It spans over 70,000 square kilometers and also has a great biodiversity, including mangroves, swamps, and rainforests. However, the region has been plagued by severe environmental pollution for decades, primarily due to extensive oil exploration and production activities. The article is over at phys.org by Omage, I guess, Maxwell Omage. I think it's pronounced Omage, but if I got it wrong, correct me. So by 2010, between 9 million and 13 million barrels were estimated to have been spilled in the Niger Delta since 1958. From 1976 to 2018, a total of 17,301 spills occurred, dumping nearly 3 million barrels of oil into the environment. So between February and April of 2020, dead fish washed up in parts of the Niger Delta's Atlantic coastline in unusually large numbers. The Unum Heron community in Delta State experienced this in March that year. The sudden and unusual occurrence heightened concerns among the residents, and the people rely heavily on these waters for their livelihood, including fishing and other daily activities. But screw them, everybody needs oil. Oh, wait. Is that wrong? Is that the wrong thing?
I think that's not... yeah.
Oh, that's not acceptable. Oh, okay. Man, I'm glad I'm not a sociopath. Anyway, yeah, so the people rely heavily on these waters for their livelihood, including fishing and other daily activities. The dead fish also pose a potential health risk to the community. A thorough investigation into the likely causes was needed, so their team of environmental physicists and marine biologists investigated the level of chemical and biological pollutants in the Numaharan community and also investigated the radioactivity effects on the residents and conducted a biohazard assessment of the environment, and the findings were published in a journal, All Earth, which that must be a very thick journal.
I know. I mean, it must circle the Earth. It probably has a lot of content.
So, their investigation revealed that levels of radioactivity in the water were higher than normal. This indicates a potential hazard to both marine life and humans, which is 5:18, so no shit news. Oh, and we're over our time, but anyway, got one more article after this one, so stick around. After this one, we're going to reset. It takes about 15 minutes or so. And then we're going to do Reality Hacker. So the stream is going to shut down for YouTube and Twitch, and then we'll be right back. So they found that the levels of uranium and thorium were 4 times higher than the global average acceptable values. And they talk about uranium and thorium. So the highest background gamma dose rate.
Those are not normally, I understand some things appear in nature, but not probably at these concentrations.
Correct. Yeah. And so studies of humans exposed to this unusual level of uranium in drinking water for many years suggest that it's going to cause at least kidney damage. Individuals exposed to thorium have an increased risk of bone cancer because thorium may be stored in the bone. And radioactive pollution is dangerous because, unlike other pollutants, there's no remediation technologies. It can cause irreversible damage to the environment and to your genetics. It can actually cause genetic wobble. So the laboratory tests also found harmful chemicals such as lead, benzene, toluene, ethylbenzene, and xylene in the water and in the dead fish tissues. These compounds can be released through oil spills and gas flaring, contributing to air and water pollution. And benzene is carcinogenic, so it has the potential to cause cancer. So they discuss ways forward, but really it needs more oversight and more protections of the waterways, capture of all of these pollutants before they hit the main waterways, and then mitigation at that level. But really, companies, this isn't just residents sitting in their backyard dumping this shit all over the place, right? It's corporations.
No, this is a bigger operation, I think.
Yeah. So, good luck. But see, like, a lot of people just don't know about it. It doesn't show up on their radar. And if it isn't constantly being pinged, then it just falls off entirely. And there's only so much that one person can do. Right? You can't champion every cause all the time, everywhere, all at once, right? It's just not possible. Everything.
Great name for a movie.
Yeah, it's great. I wish it didn't have that goofy stuff in it. That was the silliest
First
thing.
half was really good. Second half went just in absurd, kind of an odd direction.
Stupid bathroom humor kind of stuff. Anyway, otherwise, great story. Moving on. The next article, the last one for today's non sequitur news, is over in Wanted. Scientists want to see videos of your cat for a new study. Record yourself playing with your pet cat and send the footage to researchers at UC Davis. Kind of have to have a cat that likes to play. Ed Cara over at Gizmodo.com.
Yeah, those would probably be 2 prerequisites.
Yeah. Yeah. So ohmTown has 3 cats. And they do not give one about us. The residents of ohmTown, the mayoral mansion. You know what? You could pretend. There are these stories about people pretending to be drowning in their pool, and their dog jumps in and goes to save them. I firmly believe that if I were to jump into the pool and pretend to be drowning, at least one of them would jump into the pool and then stand on my shoulders and try and hold me down. So Ed Cara over at Gizmodo.com put the article together. Look at that. If that cat was orange, I would say 1 orange brain cell working here. But anyway, cats are awesome. People participating in the study will have a chance to nab a $50 gift card, but you have to run around and chase it. And if you catch the laser, you might get the $50 gift card.
Right. Wait, no, the cats are supposed to be chasing the laser, not the people.
No, it's humans. Yeah. And you have to jump parkour style from little platform to little platform along a wall and do all kinds of stuff. Eventually having to I was going to say something about licking things, but never mind. Anyway, this new study will come in 2 phases. In the first, people will simply be asked to send a 2-minute video of them playing with their cat the way that they typically would. Any video shared with other researchers or the public will be edited to only show the cat and their toy if needed. In the second, the participants will send the name of the standard toy, and they'll be asked to move the toy in front of their cat with a specific motion. So there is the cat. Oh, look, it's one orange brain cell.
I know. I thought that was great. And it looks like in the second one, it's doing that thing, perhaps, with the 2 paws, but maybe it's not. It's just the perspective.
Oh, like trying to...
Yes, which is a funny thing that cats do when they're playing.
I do the same thing if somebody throws me a piece of popcorn or a grape or something like that. Anyway. So one of the things that motivates it says me the most, not me, but I think it's the author. Yeah, researcher Hee Jin Chung, a PhD student in the lab, is also hoping to dispel some misconceptions about cats with this work. They're basically one of the most misunderstood animals in a home. They think that people are afraid. I think many people who are afraid of or dislike cats are that way because they have a layer of misunderstanding about their behavior. For example, they've trained their cat, Memi, to jump through hoops, and many people are surprised to hear that it's even possible with cats. Yeah, but it's not a... Okay, well, I'm not going to sit there and belabor this one, but you can food motivate a cat all day long to do certain things. It just takes time. People are astonished by it. They're astonished because they've never dedicated the time.
But there's also this reputation that cats can't be trained, and they absolutely can be, although some don't want to participate.
Yeah, some don't care about you. Yeah. Okay, well, anyway, so there you go, folks. Follow this link. Interested people can sign up via a link, but the link is over at gizmodo.com and not aggregated in any way over at ohmTown, so you have to go through ohmTown over to the Gizmodo article, or you just go over to Gizmodo and it'll be sitting there. You have to search for "Scientists want to see videos of your cat for a new study." And again, I was really fighting the urge to say something else for this title, but I filtered it. Okay, anyway, I am Mayor Watt, and we are going to fire up that laser and chase it back down Main Street, looking left and right at all 10 of the articles that we passed. You know, like this one, or this one, or that one, or that one. Maybe this one? That one? What about this one? How about this one? No, we're here. And that's it. I am Mayor Watt, and that's the Sentient AI's visualizer and their voice for those in the podcast.
Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News. We'll have another episode for you tomorrow, but stay tuned because we have some other shows coming up.
See you in a little bit. Bye-bye. You want a treat? You want a treat? Good kitty.